So I want to play you one more clip. This was Nancy Pelosi defending Hillary Clinton when Hillary Clinton got caught through WikiLeaks, basically telling environmental activists to piss off. Here we go.
We know now from a hacked email from WikiLeaks that in a private meeting with labor unions, Hillary Clinton appears to have said this in a meeting with labor unions about environmental activists. Hillary Clinton, quote, "They come to my rallies and they yell at me and, you know, all the rest of it. They say, will you promise never to take any fossil fuels out of the earth ever again? No, I won't promise that. Get a life, you know?" I mean, I think this is one of the reasons why there have been enthusiasm issues with Hillary Clinton is that get a life, you know, that's kind of a harsh statement to say to environmentalists.
Well, when I was speaker, my flagship issue was climate and energy independence. And so the fact is you cannot go to a place where you say we're never taking another fossil fuel out of the earth, although we'd like to, with renewables, get to a place like that. But there are plenty of uses for fossil fuels that have nothing to do with degrading
Right, but you don't talk that way. You don't, even behind closed doors, I would have a tough time imagining you saying about environmentalists, get a life.
But the point is not this. The point is not should we take fossil fuels out of there. The point is this. The Republicans have been in total denial about the climate crisis that we are facing.
So there's plenty of uses for fossil fuels that don't involve degrading the earth? I don't know any uses for fossil fuels that don't degrade the earth. And I know Jerry's going to say we use fossil fuels for a lot of different things, but the facts are the facts. I mean, fossil fuels are what is 99% of climate change. 99%. 99%. And why I chose to play that clip, and remember, share this video. Share this video. Franklin, you're wrong. Love you, Jordan. Franklin writes, love you, Jordan, but methane doesn't release more greenhouse gases. It's a greenhouse gas. It's one of the worst greenhouse gases, and it's about 45 times worse than carbon dioxide. That's what I said. I said methane is way worse than carbon dioxide. So I think we're saying the same thing. Methane is what is released through the natural gas and fracking, which is way worse than carbon dioxide. So, and remember, Super Chat. This is a Super Chat and the GoFundMe. So either contribute to the GoFundMe, the Super Chat, keep us going. We're doing this. We're doing these live marathons on Sundays for you, but also to raise money. So, Nancy Pelosi in that clip said, as Speaker of the House, I was pushing for clean energy and these things. Well, as I always say, follow the money. So, this is a great piece by Michael Sonato. He's a freelance journalist. He wrote it for The Observer. Nancy Pelosi's Victory Fund and the wealthy donors who own Democrats. And this was written last year. So obviously she wasn't Speaker at the time, but you get to see who's giving money to Miss Pelosi. House Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi has reportedly raised $25.9 million in 2017 through hosting 124 lavish fundraising galas across the country to boost the campaign coffers of the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee. Herein lies the primary reason she has kept her leadership position despite her unpopularity with voters and even her own colleagues, who have lost faith in her ability to lead. In a recent survey of 20 House Democrat candidates, only one would vocally support Pelosi. This survey comes just weeks after several congressmen spoke out about the need for leadership change. Quote, President Putin probably has a better approval rating in Georgia than Nancy Pelosi, said David Kim, a candidate in Georgia's 7th congressional district. Since the 2016 election, Pelosi has made several gaffes and contradicted herself. So I want to move on to the part about donors. He points out here that she said, we're capitalists. That's just the way it is. Remember when she said that during a CNN town hall. So I want to get to her donors. The only unity, as Senato wrote, Pelosi has been able to achieve is with the party's donors. In November 2016, she attended a closed-door conference with donors to perform an autopsy of the 2016 election. In 2017, she has used her super PAC, the Nancy Pelosi Victory Fund, to raise money for herself and the DCCC. The fund is similar in structure to Hillary Clinton's controversial Hillary Victory Fund, a joint fundraising committee with the DNC, which Politico reported was used to essentially launder money to the Clinton campaign. It wasn't essentially, it did launder money. I covered that while I was at the Young Turks. The corporate media let it go because they're in bed with Hillary Clinton. So far this year, about $1.2 million has passed through the Nancy Pelosi Victory Fund. Another committee, Nancy Pelosi for Congress, has received over $1.2 million in campaign contributions in 2017. Her leadership PAC, called PAC to the Future, very, very good, very nice name, has received over $300,000 so far this year, including $2,500 from Blue Cross Blue Shield Super PAC. The Washington Post reported that Pelosi racked up million-dollar fundraising hauls at a trio of Speaker's Cabinet VIP events this year in San Francisco, New York, and Los Angeles. Some of her top donors listed donations of $16,200 each via employees from the investment banks Moelis and Company, a private Moelis and Company. So let's start there. Moelis and Company. And the reason I'm going through this is because you cannot say Nancy Pelosi sitting here saying, "Oh, I'm for a Green New Deal. I'm for a select committee that Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is pushing." What I understand that, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, I'm not saying go into Congress and right away say, let's burn down the village. But what I don't understand is why Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and other progressives, 2 months before the election for Speaker of the House, is already saying, I'm going to vote for Nancy Pelosi because she's the most progressive candidate, especially when this report comes out. She's not the most progressive candidate, particularly on climate change and fossil fuels, because all you have to do is follow the money. It was a pain in the ass to look this stuff up yesterday, but guess what? I found it in approximately 45 minutes, all of what I'm about to show you. It just takes effort to find that most of these officials who are saying they understand the urgency, they understand the climate crisis, are literally taking money from the very industries causing this. So you see right here, she took $16,200 each via employees from the investment bank Moelis and Company. Well, let's take a look at that investment bank Moelis and Company. This is an article from last year. Moelis hits a new high for a good reason. Shares of Moelis and Company were trading higher by nearly 4% Wednesday and hit a new 52-week high of $37.55 after the company reportedly landed a giant new advisory contract. According to CNN Money, Moelis, an investment banking advisory firm valued at just $2 billion, has been hired by Saudi Aramco to act as its sole independent advisor on an expected public offering. Does anyone at home not know what Saudi Aramco is? Saudi Aramco is Saudi Arabia's biggest oil company. Saudi Arabia is the biggest oil producer in the world. That's why Trump is turning a blind eye to the fact that Saudi Arabia leader, Prince Mohammed bin Salman, literally just assassinated a journalist. I mean, in the past, America would pretend at least to care about human rights. Trump doesn't care. He doesn't care to pretend. He's not doing a damn thing to hurt Saudi Arabia because Saudi Arabia is the biggest oil company of the world, and the United States, country, and the United States is trying to accelerate exports to places like Saudi Arabia. So one of Nancy Pelosi's biggest donors to this victory fund is literally from the very investment banking firm that just took on the biggest oil company in the world, Saudi Aramco. Saudi Aramco has been floating the idea of an IPO, this article writes. Saudi Aramco is the world's largest oil company, but experts can't agree on a proper valuation. Some estimates peg the giant to be worth as much as $10 trillion, or 30 times ExxonMobil Corporation. So, am I helping Trump get reelected by reporting the facts? How is Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez or any progressives saying Nancy Pelosi is the most progressive choice for Speaker, or that, you know, obviously Nancy Pelosi, she's been in Washington for a very long time. She's going to say whatever the hell she has to say behind closed doors to get people like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez to jump on board. And this isn't, I'm not doing this particularly to pick on Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. She's just the leading progressive in the House now, basically. So if you're banking on Nancy Pelosi to bring you to the promised land as far as serious, immediate change as far as climate change, I would look elsewhere. And designer Dave has asked, have you looked into the other choices available? I absolutely have. I don't think, if you came to this late, I want to make clear, my issue isn't with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez or any progressives saying at this point Nancy Pelosi is the more progressive choice. I have a problem with that language because I don't really think Nancy Pelosi is that much more progressive than the other conservative choices. I think they're all pretty much conservatives. What I don't understand is, based on the actual record, based on the actual facts, I don't understand why Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and other progressives, instead of talking about how Nancy Pelosi is the best choice right now, 2 months before the actual election is taken or voted on, why aren't they pushing for actual progressive alternatives to Nancy Pelosi? We don't have time to play patty cake. The climate report is a disaster. It's not going to happen like 82 years from now. That is what the report says is the worst of it. The effects are already being felt, and the effects are going to be even worse by 2050, which is not so far away. So, based on the facts and based on the information that I have found, Nancy Pelosi has very, very strong ties to the fossil fuel industry. Nancy Pelosi can say all she wants about a Green New Deal and renewables and all that, but it's a wink and a nod because she's then taking money from the very companies that are destroying our planet. So I don't have a problem with her saying at this point, I don't see any good options, but to say I'm going to vote for Nancy Pelosi unless something better comes along, well, you're basically saying I'm going to vote for someone that is in bed with the fossil fuel industry. Here's another example. Beleaguered Noble seeks strategic investor. So Noble is a big energy commodities trader. So they trade on oil and pipelines and things like that. Noble Group is seeking a strategic investor to drag the beleaguered commodities trader out of what it calls an incredibly difficult environment. The company's market value has shriveled by over $1 billion this year as the firms reported a first quarter loss. S&P Global Ratings flagged a risk of default, and Fitch Ratings cut its credit rating twice in less than 2 weeks. As Noble works with Morgan Stanley and Moelis & Company to review its options amid the deepening crisis. So you have Nancy Pelosi going back, she's getting money from Moelis Company, which is a big investment bank that is taking on the largest oil company, Saudi Aramco, as one of its major clients, and then working with a major energy commodities trader. So how are you going to legitimately be able to do anything on climate change when the people funding you, and we all know Nancy Pelosi and Democrats like her, men and women, they are transactional. They serve their donors. These are not people that gave them money 20 years ago. These are people giving them money right now. Does that make me sexist? No. I would say this if it was Joe Biden, and I have. But she's taking money from investment banks and companies that are heavily invested or tied to fossil fuel companies. And those people giving them the money are not giving it to them out of the kindness of their heart. They're giving it to them to benefit their strategic investments in fossil fuel companies. It's not complicated.